Before we get started, just a quick note, spoiler alert.
And we are adults, and I will try very hard not to use adult language, but this is the warning.
Button. Hello and welcome back to Fright Bites. My name is Jennifer.
And I'm Serena. Each episode, we will feature a short story or novella. You can read along with us by finding the full reading list posted on our website, lastlibraryontheleft.com, or our social media at LLOTL Podcast.
And today we're talking about The Ocean at the End of the Lane by Neil Gaiman. It was published in 2013 by HarperCollins. And I just wrote a really short summary for it. A man returns to his childhood home and memories resurface from a time long past. Because I didn't want to give away too much of it.
Okay, so the age thing, how old do you think he was?
I was thinking he might have been late 30s, early 40s.
He made it seem like he felt older than that, like closer to 50 or 60, but I was thinking 40s.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, just wondering where
we were.
Yeah, that was about the only thing that was confusing to me.
Yeah, I really felt like he was late 30s, early 40s, just based on the time it seemed that it took from when we got into his memories to the present.
Mm-hmm. I think part of it too is maybe because I always assume that everything in England has been around for hundreds of years, the buildings and stuff.
Yeah.
And so when he was like, oh, the house we lived in until I was 7 or 8, and then they built a new one, and I was like, they did what now? And then you only lived in that one until you were a teenager, and then they knocked that down and built these other homes. Mm-hmm. I was like, that is some American bullshit. Like,
right?
What?
Yeah, like that's what we do here. We can't keep things. We can't keep history.
Right. So I think that's maybe why the age and timeline thing kept getting really wonky for me.
It's so funny because just a quick trigger warning for child abuse. Actually, lots of abuse. One
instance of really bad abuse, which when we get to it, girl, I got that has kept me feeling a little raw because we'll get to it.
Yeah, I think it's the same moment that I had, and it still lives with me, and I have finished this book for a hot minute now. So I guess let's get into it.
Okay. I guess first off, we both want to say that this book was so beautiful, and Neil Gaiman has such an artistic way of telling a story to the point where it really does. It feels like it kind of carves you out a little.
Yeah.
You've said that you felt so emotionally drained and immersed, but I love that about his storytelling, that everything feels so part of your world for the moment you're reading.
Yeah. I was hooked into it. There was a moment where I think I told you I closed the book because I couldn't read anymore. But normally where I would have probably put the book away and never got back to it, I reopened it and I finished it. And I think it's due to his writing. Like, I really like his writing style. I don't read too much Neil Gaiman, but that's not just because of any bias or anything. I just haven't. What I have read of his, I wholeheartedly love.
Yeah, I've been a big fan of his for years and years. And I don't know, his work just is always so, it feels like the romantic era of painting and music. And it's very lyrical, but has like a gothic side to it. It's just so beautiful. I love it.
Yeah, I think his writing style to me is very thoughtful. Very intentional. I mean, and I don't want to discount any other writers and authors out there, but there's just something different about his writing that I just really love.
There really is. And when he writes children, it just it hits different, you know?
Yeah, it really does.
So I guess we can start talking about the story a bit. There's just a couple of things that I really want to hit because they're the parts that carved me out.
Yeah.
I love the hemp stalks, the 3 women. I love that there was the old grand, the middle one, and the young one, kind of like the Fates.
Yeah, Letty. Again with the 3.
And they kind of felt like witches, but they weren't witches. They were like seers, or I kept getting this like weird Baba Yaga type feel for them where...
Yeah, I just wrote down like old souls and I was like, but I can't, the word wouldn't come. So yeah.
Because there's Baba Yaga has stories, of course, where she preys upon children, but there are also stories of Baba Yaga who is kind of a keeper of forest and time and old magic, you know?
Yeah.
And they had a lot of that
Definitely.
feel.
Yes, a lot of old magic-y feel. Oh,
Mhm.
yes. And like I said, they're not technically witches, but they are why I have an appreciation for witches, because it was that type of, I don't want to say reality, but the type of description and type of
Mhm.
females in witch lore that I grew up reading and consuming as a child. So I just loved them.
Me too. You know who I did not love? And this is probably kind of shitty. I did not like the opal miner. He killed that little kitten. I mean, I know he didn't like kill it on purpose,
Yeah.
but if his ass hadn't been there, the kitten would have died, and then all this shit wouldn't have happened. And he was like a greedy person and fed into this, whatever. Like the opal miner, I know he wasn't really at fault, but
Yeah.
I did not like him.
Oh my gosh, I was like, I blanked when you said the opal miner, because I was like, who is that? I completely forgot about him because of the dad.
Girl, oh,
Yeah,
okay.
we'll
Yeah,
get to that.
I mean, I didn't like him either, but for different, okay, we'll get
Yeah,
into that.
yeah.
So the story is that our main character, he makes friend, well, his family takes in a boarder, and it's an opal miner, and the opal miner gambles away all of his money and kills himself with the family car at the end of the lane. Well, when he and his dad go to investigate with the cops or pick up the car, they find that there's a dead body in it, blah, 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 whatever. So the girl with the farm next door is like, hey, how about you come chill out here? And, you know, while they do all that, and, you know, you'll be okay. So, oh my God, also everything, I've never wanted fresh milk more in my entire life.
Dude, this kid, he made me want some of, because like a lot of this is, to me, is like country food that I was exposed to as a young child, because there were a lot of farmers in our family, a lot of do it yourself as far as like food goes. And I was like, man, I miss a lot of that home cooked, really Southern American food.
Yeah, fresh honeycomb, fresh cream, fresh every. Oh my God, oh girl, every time he sat down to eat, I was like, yes, yes.
Yeah, same. I was just like, gosh. And I would go into my cupboard and be like, all I have are processed chips, but I guess I'll eat that and pretend it's a honeycomb.
And then the jelly and the jams.
Yeah.
Because Nadine's Meemaw used to make all of her own jellies and jams. She's like a big ham person. And girl, it just made me want to be back at Meemaw's house so bad.
Yeah, I know. I was just like, oh gosh. I was just so envious. And I did make, the only thing homemade that I can make, really make, that when I put my mind to, is like applesauce. So I did make a nice fresh pot of like warm applesauce, and I like to eat it when it's warm. And so I was just like, oh, this is what he must be feeling.
Right? It feels so comforting and homey. And girl, that's how we felt reading.
I know. Every time he sat down to eat, I was like, yes, I need more of this content. It is so ASMR with no sound, just literally reading it.
And what a phenomenal writer that makes for, you
right?
know, that he can pull you in and like you're sitting there, your mouth is watering and you're having like vivid memories triggered from like, it's just insane. Anyway,
yeah.
Thank you very much for that.
Yes.
So he goes, and there's a spirit that's giving out money to people, but it's doing it in harmful ways because it doesn't realize that it's harmful. So Letty is like, hey, let's go figure out where the spirit is and, you know, take care of it. So they go off on an adventure and they find the spirit. The whole time Letty's like, don't let go of my hand. And he lets go for a second to catch something that was thrown at him. And he feels a prick in the sole of his foot. And immediately you're like, cool, this is where everything goes downhill. And he brings home a spirit from this other world, and the spirit becomes this woman who becomes a boarder who, I mean, you knew everything was going to go to shit, right? You knew she was going to seduce the father. You knew that all this other stuff was happening. What I did not see coming was the child abuse.
Same. So, okay, when she came in and it became very clear that she was preying on the dad, I was just taken to, so I had this fear inside of me that I will date as a single parent and the man I bring into Aurora's life will be just horrible to her. And that's why I don't really put myself out there, because I'm just really fearful of that. And I probably should explore that and deal with it, but I'd rather not. And so that triggered me because I was like, oh, this is exactly what's going to happen. This guy's going to come in and just be so mean to my daughter and I'm going to have to kill him. But you know, like, just It triggered me in a way, but the child abuse, I did not see that
No.
part coming. And I was shocked. I was traumatized, and the book was put down.
Yeah, I had to take a moment away from it too, because
Mhm.
this is the moment that really, it gave me a cold feeling inside. So the spirit is affecting the father
Mhm.
to the point where the main character is disobeying and being disrespectful or whatever, but he's not.
Yeah, no.
But the father is like, well, I'm gonna punish you. And when he starts dragging him upstairs, like I was like, oh, he's just gonna lock him in the room or whatever.
Yeah.
They may like hit him, because he kept emphasizing, my dad's never hit me, my dad's never hit me. I was like, all right, this is gonna be like a spanking or whatever, like whatever. And I hate to say it, but that I could have handled on a different level, you know?
Yeah.
But what his dad did, and it started to like really trigger me, was he plugged the tub and he started running cold water and filling the tub. And I was like, oh God, he's gonna waterboard him. He's gonna try to drown him. And what got me about that is, so the sister that I had custody of, shortly after we were able to get an apartment, she brought home a kitten, my old cat Grayson. And the first time Grayson bit her, because Grayson had food issues. And so when Grayson first bit her, when her hand was too close to her food, my sister roughly picked her up. And I remember standing there and watching her, and it was as if something had switched in her, like her whole entire personality became something different. And she was like, oh no, I'll show you what happens to children that do that. And it was like someone else talking through her. And she grabbed the kitten, and I was like, no, what are you doing? What are you doing? And she took her over to the sink and she turned on the water and she waterboarded the kitten. And I was like, what do you do? And I took the kitten back and I was like, what are you doing? And she was like, that's what dad would do. And I was like, oh God. I was like, we do not do that in this household. We do not threaten to drown a life for misbehaving. I was like, that kitten bit you because it has been in this house for less than a few hours.
Right.
We do not do that. And I was like, we will find other more humane ways to punish. And I remember just sitting there thinking, I have a long road ahead of me.
Oh my God. Like, I can't imagine that as a teenager yourself.
I know. I was so mortified and scared, because I remember thinking, what did I get myself into? Because I thought the trauma with our brother was all I had to deal with, but it was also undoing everything she had learned from our father.
Yeah. Oh my God.
And then I read that and I was like, I'm almost crying now thinking about it. And I was like, I can't. So I too put down the book and came back to it later. And after that, it was fine. Like everything was very fairy tale and whimsical again, but that was so hard.
It was, I think I'm going to cry too, just thinking about it, because it's just so, it was so difficult to read it from this child's point of view of a parent who's never done that to him. And the parent just goes from 0 to 1,000 just at the snap of a finger of some woman. And then his sister was like, you probably deserved it, or I can't remember what she said. And I was like, no child deserves that kind of treatment. I'm sorry. I am sorry. My kid can be a freaking asshole at times. Like, she really can. She really tries me and she really tests me, but she does not deserve my hands on her for anything.
Right.
There's always a chance for us to talk through things. And I did grow up with spankings and stuff, and she has gotten a couple in her little lifetime, but they've never been to the point where she's actually been harmed. It was literally just a chance to get her attention, and then we have to have a conversation. I even apologize for it, because I feel guilty for spanking her, because I don't think violence is the answer. And so I don't know. That was such a triggering moment. And the book wasn't as bad afterwards, but it still stayed in my mind. It still hits.
It stayed in my mind too, because it felt like everything after that was just so classic evil witch spirit thing. So I don't know. It was great though. I loved it, and I loved the way it ended.
Yeah.
I thought it was beautiful. I loved the ocean. I loved all of the sort of mythology that was built around it. I loved all the imagery. I loved what it meant and what it stood for. I'm glad I got past that point, because
girl, same. I am so glad I pushed on, because this was almost a DNF, and I'm so glad I pushed on, because it was really good. I was so grateful for the shadow crows to come in. I was like, thank you. I need a supernatural monster at this point. But yeah, if I have to tell our listeners anything, just put the book down and pick it back up and keep reading, because it is a great story.
I even loved that the ending was the old man version of himself remembering everything, not just for the first time, but it sounds like he's come back multiple times. and that he remembered everything. But then as it kind of washed away, it was like the ocean tide. It came in and gave him everything back, and then it slowly receded.
Yeah.
And it was so beautiful. And old Mrs. Hemstock Gran was just like, it's just easier this way. This is how it's meant to be.
Yeah.
It was so beautiful.
It was so poetic.
It was poetic in that after it carved you out, it really soothed you.
It really did. So we had a talk earlier about art and how like I don't appreciate it. I'm really stupid when it comes to art.
Same.
Right? This is my type of art.
Yes.
This is the type of, I'm not a literature major. I'm not one for like the great classics. You know, I have my favorites, but these types of books like this, The Ocean at the End of the Lane, I say The Night Circus is another one, are books that just stay with me, and the poeticism of which they were written and the beauty and the art that comes out. Oh gosh, I just so appreciate it so much.
That's a good point, because it makes me think of that. It's like a Tumblr or Reddit post where someone was like, isn't it weird how reading is like the trippiest drug you can get? And someone else was like, what are you talking about? And they're like, you just stare at a dead tree and then you vividly imagine the words written on it. Like, that's getting high. And I was like, so yeah, like reading is my art.
And yes, it is my art as well. And this is the pure form of it in this book.
You know, and I always think of Neil Gaiman's history with books and librarians and stuff. And every time I think about it, and especially while reading this book, all I could think was, please just let me have had the impact on one child that the librarians had on him, because we need more people like him in the world.
I agree. We definitely do. That is now my mission too, to leave that impact that he has left. So thank you.
You're welcome. We do very important work. It's not often seen, and it's something that has to be planted and nurtured over time. And even if the kids forget us, they have that piece that's going to bloom into something so beautiful one day. And I told myself when I went into school for it, I was like, I just want one. That's all I want out of the thousands of kids that I'll talk to and interact with over my time. I just want one.
Yeah. And I feel like you've gotten many, but that's neither here nor there.
Thank you. I appreciate it.
I don't have much more to say about this one except that it was just so great.
Same. I'm feeling very, oddly enough, carved out and soothed over again just talking about it.
Yeah, I agree. Just don't read any others with child abuse afterwards, because I think that was my problem. I didn't give space in between this one and the other one, and that's why I never finished the other one.
Yeah, I would say if you're reading our list, to read Prosperous Demon after this.
Yes. Yes. I agree.
Have a nice, good laugh.
Yeah. Okay, well, we'll see y'all tomorrow.
Bye, y'all.
Bye.
If you liked listening to us ramble on about horror, subscribe to our podcast and tell your friends. And if you would like to follow us on social media, you can find us on Instagram or Facebook at LLOTL Podcast.
Check out our website by going to lastlibraryontheleft.com. Be sure to visit our About Us page to discover our 2 truths and a lie. Or, if you'd like to send us an email, you can reach us at somethingwicked@lastlibraryontheleft.com.